faces. And ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you our incredible speakers that are more than ready to cut, through the noise with us. But before I do that, my spirit, yes, listening to my spirit is, asking me to introduce the host before I introduce our speakers. One thing I should say though, before I introduce the host and, going on to the speakers, is that all the three individuals I'm here to introduce have what I would, in the simplest of terms, refer to as very, very rich profiles. So you bear with me as I take you through one at a time. So I'll start with our host, who is none other than Betty Ojel, my beloved coach, who is a beacon of transformation, resilience, and inspiration. Betty Ojel is a transformational leader and a career coach, a passionate speaker, and a distinguished member of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. She's not just an author, but also a beacon of resilience, having penned her inspirational book, Against All Odds, where she courageously shares her extraordinary journey of triumphing over life's adversities. With over 20 years of experience as a multi-award-winning human resource practitioner, Betty's professional journey has taken her to global giants like Total Energies in the oil and gas sector, and Ernst & Young in management advisory. Her life motto is very simple: there is greatness in everyone. One of the things she first told me when she first listened to me was, there is greatness in you. And I think she wrote for me similar comments in a birthday present she gave me around, must have been my last year's birthday. There is greatness in you, Derek. So that's her life motto: there is greatness in everyone. These are not just words. She lives by this motto. So this motto resonates in her daily work. She harnesses her skills, talents, and personal experiences to instill hope and awaken individuals to their life's purpose, propelling them towards unlocking their boundless potential. Currently, she serves as an executive training coordinator with Equips Beyond Success program, a non-profit organization affiliated with Maxwell Enterprises. She's also an integral part of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team, playing a pivotal role in the President's Advisory Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, I warned you that these profiles are rich, and bear with me while you get to understand the people that are in our midst this evening. Betty's journey is one that is marked by resilience, a transformational leadership, and a career coach that merges a profound knowledge of human resource management, her extensive experience, and her own incredible narrative of surmounting the odds. Her personal story, that includes a life-altering motor accident in 2006 that resulted into a brain injury, paralysis, and speech loss, is a testament to the remarkable power of faith, determination, and revival. She not only rekindled her career, but also discovered her life's calling. Despite challenges that life has thrown her way, Betty continues to break barriers. In a historic achievement, she brought the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member DNA Culture Award for 2021 to the African continent for the first time, alongside the Nurture Transformation Award. So Betty's excellence isn't limited. Betty's excellence isn't limited to her inspirational speaking and coaching. She continues to shine as a human resource expert. She clinched the Human Resource Excellence Award in employee engagement from the Human Resource Managers Association of Uganda in 2016 and 17. In 2017, she received the Global Prosperity and Peace Initiative's Peacemaker Award in Kampala. Uganda's top 40 under 40 most inspirational women by the New Vision, a leading newspaper in the country. In Betty's world, the past is a mere stepping stone, not a prison. She firmly believes that our history need not to dictate our future. Her life is a testament to the transformative power of resilience, faith, and unwavering commitment to inspiring greatness and adding to values. in the simplest and shortest of words, ladies and gentlemen, for those that are hearing it for the first time, that right there is the profile of our host and founder of the Betty Ojel Foundation that has made it possible for us to have our 52nd Against All Odds session. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me very, very quickly, due to the interest of time, go on and introduce to us the other speaker, and that is none other than Mrs. I hope I got that right, Mrs. Evelyn Luanga Sematimba, who is a seasoned human capital leader with over 10 years of HR leadership and 16 of administration. I just need someone to write, to do the mathematics for me. I think in Betty's profile, I've mentioned that she has over 20 years of experience. I need you to add for me the years of experience that you're going to hear me mention in Evelyn's profile, and add that to the years that I've mentioned in our other speakers' profile when I get to it. And I will need to get the totals in the comment section as soon as I'm done with the introduction. So allow me to proceed. Evelyn Rangasema Timba is a seasoned human resource capital leader with 10 years of HR leadership and 16 of administration. Currently working with the MUA Mauritius and East Africa as head of human capital and administration Uganda and HR strategy lead East Africa. She's a turnaround and integration specialist with experience in leading organizations through evolution and leadership transformation journeys. At MUA, she's responsible for driving people excellence in the HR function and driving business results in strategic initiatives. Her key wins, ladies and gentlemen, are right here with me in figures, and allow me to quickly go through them. From the year 2024 group wide pulse survey, Uganda emerged with the best ratings with a soaring 95% employee satisfaction score, 22% above group and 16% above 2023. The most rewarding statistic in this survey was Uganda scoring 100% in learning and development, 34% above group and 17% above 2023. In June 2024, Evelyn received recognition for the best employee wellness initiative in quote-unquote the Wellness Advantage by the MUA Group. In 2023, MUA Rwanda achieved the highest overall employee engagement scores across the group, following a year into Evelyn's appointment as head of HR in MUA Rwanda in 2022. In 2019, while serving as the HR manager at Marsh and McLennan, Uganda was ranked best from an external audit on recruitment processes across all African subsidiaries. I'm excited just as I read, these figures and digest them. Beyond her 8 to 5, that is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Evelyn is a mentor with the Girls for Girls project that is dedicated to empowering young women in leadership and personal development. As a wife and a mother of two, Evelyn embraces the beauty of family and mental health discussions. She finds fulfillment in church ministry, where she is also a worship leader. I'm overwhelmed, ladies and gentlemen, but I need and I must go on. Currently, she's pursuing a master's degree in human resource management from the University of London in the United Kingdom. She's also a certified HR BP by GAFM, a certified recruiter by the ILO, and a member of the HRMAU. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the profile of one of our speakers, Mrs. Evelyn Luanga Sematimba. Allow me to go on to introduce the only gentleman on our panel of speakers, and that is none other than Mr. Godwin Otim. Yes, I do have his profile right here with me. Okay, Mr. Godwin Otim is a seasoned people and culture professional with over 17 years of experience, driving performance and growth through strategic talent development. He has served in key human resource roles across UNICEF Uganda, Kenya, and now at the global headquarters in Istanbul, where he leads career development initiatives and serves as the focal point for UNICEF's Global Reach program, supporting career transitions for high potential national staff. Godwin's expertise spans learning and development, performance management, and career coaching. He is known for his strong facilitation skills, cross-cultural fluency, and commitment to nurturing individual and organizational potential. His background includes impactful roles in the private sector at Airtel, Vision Group, Absa Bank Uganda. He also does hold a master's degree in natural management and a bachelor's in statistics, and a certified trainer and assessor of trainers by the IFC. Outside of work, he enjoys team building, reading, dancing, and swimming. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Godwin Otim, our other speaker for the evening. To tell you the truth, they were shorter versions of these introductions, but when I got these profiles, I knew that I wanted, to read each and everything in there for everyone to feel what I felt when I just, read about our speakers and our hosts. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me, in the interest of time, hand over to our host, and that is none other than Coach Betty Ojel, to introduce to us formally what Against All Odds Talks is all about, and then she will proceed to also introduce to us the Betty Ojel Foundation before now we delve into the gist of our discussion this evening concerning careers. Over to you, Coach Betty. Thank you. There she is.
My mouth. But 10 years ago, had you told me that I would be an inspirational speaker and a John Maxwell Team DNA Award winner, I would call 911 to take you to the Mad People's Rehabilitation Center. You see, growing up, I was abandoned by my guardian at 14 years, poisoned by a neighbor, beaten by a poisonous snake, and survived imprisonment because I was smuggling local potent gin to fend for myself and nurture my dream of education. As if that was not enough, 14 years ago, I got a terrible motor car accident which left me with a brain injury, a broken neck, paralysis from head to toe. I lost my ability to speak completely. Was confined to a wheelchair and declared 100% disabled by doctors. In all this, my friends, I have learned that you have to keep moving forward despite the destruction. You see, my speech is still impaired, but I can speak anyway. My right hand is still paralyzed, but I learned to use my left hand. And I hope you can see that I moved from a wheelchair to high heels. Indeed. Indeed, Dr. King was right when he said that if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. GMTers, let's keep moving forward despite the distraction. Shall we? Thank you.
Very good. Fantastic. Well done. Good job. This is your trophy. Congratulations. Look for the photo. Thank you. Betty O'Gill. Well done.
Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, coach, you're loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and I will not say good night because I don't want anyone to sleep on us. My name is Betty O'Gill Rubanga. As Derek has said, as shared, I am a majestic speaker, and that is why I started as by watching that video. That video helps me to warn you about my slowness of speech so that you can calm down and know that the person coming to speak to you is a majestic speaker, not by choice, but by circumstances beyond our control. Mine is very simple this evening. Tonight, I would like to welcome you all from across the world. If all of you could put where you are joining us from, it would be nice to know who is joining us from where. And while you are doing that, yes, again, I would like to welcome you to the 52nd Agnaist All Odd talks. We began the talks in May 2028, and up until now, we are still going and still moving forward despite the distractions. When COVID came, we decided to move to Zoom, and since then we have not stopped. I would like to welcome especially our speakers. Our speakers have given their time, 2 hours of their time to add value to us. I would like to thank Evelyn, my friend Evelyn, and my colleague in the HR fraternity. You are welcome, and this is Against All Odds Talks, hosted by the Betty O'Gill Foundation, which supports girls from vulnerable backgrounds to attain an education. Now, girls, why girls? Because I was one time that girl who had a dream and no funds, no one to support my education. So welcome, Evelyn. Then my friend and brother Godwin, our team, has spoken in Against All Odds talks before. So we are delighted. You are family. You are family in Against All Odds talks. We were there when it began, and we are still moving on. So I would like to welcome all of you, those who are joining us for the first time. We love visitors. You are welcome. Those who have are returning, we love you, and thank you for returning, coming back. And yes, against all odds, in Against All Odds talks, we are people of value who value people and add value to them. We are people of value who value people and add value to them. Why? Because we believe there is greatness in everyone, and everyone can achieve their dream regardless of the situation. I am a person who has developed talking to my past. I have conversations with my past. I tell my past that past, just because you and I have history does not mean we have a future together. Every day, every day when my past life wants to interfere with my future, that is the conversation we get into. So that is why we put these talks, monthly talks, to add value to people by sharing our knowledge, by inviting different speakers to share not only their knowledge, but their experiences as well. Before I start opening the discussion, I want to hand over to you, our amazing moderator. Karibu.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Coach, once again for the opportunity. I've realized, though I'm a bit dark, what that means is I needed a bit of more lighting. But when I stop the video, my image is there. So hopefully that can fill in for the very dark parts here and there. Thank you so much for your understanding. I just, Coach, quickly want to go through the comments people have shared based on where they are. We do have Mkami Kariuki joining us from Tanzania. Thank you so much for being here. We do have Karo Ashaba joining us from Kololo. Thank you so much. Judy is joining us from Gulu. Of course, Evelyn is joining us from Kampala. Irene is joining us from Chira, that is in Uganda. Deborah is joining us from Kampala, Uganda. Havuma Rona is joining us from Kampala. Jacqueline, Kampala. Karo is in Chikaya. Cynthia is also in Kampala. Someone called Administrator. Yes, is joining us from Namugongo. Eve is in Kampala. Flavia, Kampala. Someone is joining us from Gulu. Someone is joining us from Gulu City as well. And so many others. Namugongo, Gulu. welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you, just like Coach Betty, who is also our host, has mentioned. We have Eunice from Dubai. Thank you so much for joining us, Eunice. We have Alison from Wakiso. We have Tadeo from Pretoria, South Africa. We have Lynn from Kenya. We have Gray from Kira. Thank you, everyone. We do have someone else from South Sudan, someone from Karamoja. That is Valeria, is from Karamoja. We have Fred joining us from Namibia. So, Coach, to say the list, someone else from Nairobi, everyone is joining us from all around the world, and that is exciting. So, Mercy is from Kenya. Thank you so much, Mercy. I gave you a task earlier, so while I go into the gist of our discussion, I'm going to ask you now to respond to the chat. I wanted to know when you did the addition, adding the Coach Betty's years of experience plus those of Evelyn and those of Godwin. I need to know the sum that you got when you did the mathematics. At this point in time, though, allow me just to allow my two speakers to say hello before we can go now to the discussion. I will start with you, Evelyn. Just unmute, say hello to everyone, and then I'll proceed to Godwin. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're logging in. We are excited and very, very privileged to be sharing with you today. And I know it is not a one-way street. We're going to be learning from yourselves as well. So I am really, really honored, Derek and Betty, and to the entire Betty Ojel Foundation for giving me this opportunity. And I am looking very, very forward to sharing my experiences.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Very humbling words. You know, when you say you're honored, I'm saying no, it's me that is honored. But either way, I guess we are both honored, and that is amazing. Great. Moving on to Mr. Godwin. Please speak to us before, yes, we proceed. Godwin, are you there? Mr. Godwin Otim, our other speaker. Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask my host, Coach Betty, to, oh, Mr. Godwin is here, he's back.
Derek,
yes, Mr. Godwin.
I don't know if it was only me, but I got cut off. But it's back now. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. So you got us at the point where we just wanted you to speak to the people, let them hear your voice before now we can get down to business.
Thank you so much, Derek, and big thanks to Betty and the Against All Odds Foundation. It's such an amazing addition to our lives, and I'm glad that we can be people of value who add value and who are of value to other people. So that's exciting to know. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very overwhelmed when it comes to career because that's what I live, breathe, and do. So I just want to assure all those who have joined that a warm welcome to you. Let's cut through the noise in this session and make the most out of it. Ask anything and everything. So thank you very much, and back to you, Derek.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get down to the business, and that is the dissecting our topic of discussion this evening. As we get to that, I'm going to ask everyone if you know someone that would benefit from this session. I already see the numbers are very good, but that does not mean that we have everyone here. Please continue to share the link and invite people. I'm certain that Coach Betty's fingers are right there on her keyboard to just make sure people are getting admitted into the room to share from these insights. Well, that said, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Godwin Otim. We are here very simply to discuss career truth they do not tell you. So based on that very rich history of a profile, you've worked with professionals navigating high-level career transitions globally. And my question to you, Mr. Godwin, is what is the one silent struggle people often face during this transition that nobody ever talks about? Over to you, Mr. Otim.
Thank you, Derek. That's a good question. Firstly, just to also let the those on this call know that I mean, career is about transition, right? If career did not have transition, then it would cease to be a journey, and which we call it. It's a journey. So, firstly, is to note that I myself have moved through about 4 industries, and I've moved through 6 jobs in the last 17 years. So that just tells you that there is a lot that I've learned, and I come to speak just with that experience to share directly to your question. What are what is that silent thing that, that people go through that they may never talk about, especially when it comes to global transitioning. One thing I will say is that as you transition from one job to another, oftentimes you have shown strength, you have shown capacity in the current job that you're doing. You have probably competed, and you've probably shown that you are now good for a good thing, for another level, second level. So that comes with a burden. When you get to a new position, or when you get to transition to another job, often it will come, if we look at it globally, it's going to come with a change in the environment. It's going to come with a change in culture. It's going to come with a change in the responsibilities. And the biggest thing that I would say as a challenge that's not talked about is the imposter syndrome. What is the imposter syndrome? I'll tell you from experience that every time I have had to move from one job to another, you often take on the mantra like a beginner. You often settle into a new role like a beginner, questioning yourself, what, am I going to manage this one like the previous one? Am I going to shine? Am I going to really show up? How am I going to show up? Because there are several things you'll start to realize you don't know. You need to learn. You can apply principles, but sometimes you need context. You can apply values, but sometimes you need some mentorship. So all this comes heavy on you. And so it's a change in environment, it's a change in culture, it's a change in roles and responsibilities, it's a change in the team, it's in the change in organizational values. I could go on and on. But what I want to emphasize is that this is just a reflection for you to say, how can I refrain my mind from being bogged down by these limitations, and see how can I be a quick learner? How can I quickly adapt, to whatever I want to do? So in simple terms, once you have that challenge, I think the main thing is to step forward and not backwards, to step forward into the challenge, say, what can I learn? How can I adapt to this changing environment? How can I be a sponge? How can I just take in whatever I need to take in this moment, like a beginner? And soon after that, you begin to find your footing. So I would say that's something that many people high level might be strategic leaders, they might be CEOs, they might be leaders of functions, chiefs, and department heads. They most likely will tell you that that is something that they have experienced, and it comes with humility to admit it, but it's also a sign of growth and a sign that you can actually step forward and not backwards. So thank you, but happy to supplement if there is anything that you need to hear more about that. Over to you, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. We shall have a Q&A. So as our listeners keep following the conversation, I'm certain that questions will come up here and there, and that will be the perfect time. Otherwise, thank you so much for the response. Again, for purposes of keeping our conversation lively, we shall be, having one question go this way and the other question the other way. So Mrs. Evelyn Luanga Sematimba, you've led HR transformations in multiple East African countries, as it is clearly written in your profile. From experience, what is the one hard truth about career growth during periods of major organizational change? Over to you, Evelyn.
Wow. Thank you, Derek. And I think the beauty about this question is the fact that regardless of the organization where you are, we have one constant, and that is change. And if I'm to be honest with you, one thing that I have been able to see and witness over and over again. The fact that an organization is going through a certain phase of change does not really mean life is stopping. Matter of fact, at the time when an organization, can you hear me, Derek?
Yes, Evelyn, I can hear you. It's only that I think someone is not muted. Okay, please proceed. Please proceed. Evelyn? Evelyn, you're muted. Could you kindly unmute? Sorry.
I think I've unmuted again. I had unmuted
Right.
before. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. I was saying, Derek, that a lot of times I have come to witness that the way employees respond to change within an organization, a lot of times people freeze. People confuse the change that the organization is going through with what their emotions are telling them at that particular time. However, I have also come to learn and confirm that if anything, matter of fact, when there is a change within the organization, that is when things accelerate. So if you do not position yourself to be one of those who are ready to move with the tide, then that is where, the problem is. I have been honored and privileged to serve in multinationals. Right, actually, for my first job, I have been blessed to work with organizations that have a footprint in more than one country. And I have also been privileged to land opportunities where organizations are either at the peak of a merger, a peak of an acquisition, a peak of a rebrand, and then a lot of things come into play. There's a lot of moving parts, from restructures to performance systems to implementation of a lot of things, redefinition of processes and systems. What I have seen is people responding differently. While others wait for instructions, others stay quiet, others hope, okay, let me watch this out and see if things are going to settle. But then you see another wave of people who are actually going to lean in and ask questions and offer ideas and, adapt quickly. Because at the end of the day, I think what we also forget, at the time when an organization is going through change, the people who have been there, either before the rebrand, the merger, the acquisition, these are the people who know the history. They have a very good institutional memory. And from where I sit, I see that these are the people who are equipped with the knowledge of how can we do better, what are we struggling with, what problems do we have, how is competition beating us. But unfortunately, Derek and the other listeners, it is the same people who now go into hibernation. And they just wait to see if the new CEO will like me, if the new process will allow my job will stay in the organogram, whether things will stay the way they are. And I have come to confirm that the truth is, when change is happening, leadership is quietly watching. And that does not mean that leadership is almost not in the same boat. We are in the same boat. But what leadership is looking for, they're looking for people who are going to help bring out some level of clarity, not confusion, especially if the leadership is a new leadership. So leadership is looking out for people who are going to stay ready, even when everything around, is moving and uncertain. If you can position yourself to be that person, the one who is adaptable, the one who is proactive, the one who is solutions driven, the one who suggests changes and solutions to existing problems, then that is your growth moment, ladies and gentlemen. My advice, please don't shrink during change. Don't go into hiding mode. Don't put your head down. This is your time to show up. This is your time to learn and really, really learn very fast. Position yourself as part of the next chapter. If you fail to do that and stick to this is how we used to do it, this is how we've been doing things, why are these people bringing a lot of new things, then I think you have pretty much lost the game way early. So position yourself to be the adaptable person, the solutions provider. Come to the table with solutions that are actually speaking into the needs of the new business strategy, and you will see how doors are going to open for you. Yeah. Yes, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Yes, I intentionally took a minute, before unmuting and speaking, because yes, I was feeling the message, and I believe that all of close to our 80 participants here this evening are getting the message aloud and clear. Allow me to move on to Mr. Godwin Otim for my next question. Godwin, in performance-focused environments like UNICEF, just to pause at that, one would wonder, what do those guys eat? Guys that are working in UNICEF and places, what do these people eat? Anyways, proceeding with my question. In performance-focused environments like UNICEF and the private sector in general, what's the one truth about how performance actually influences promotions that many professionals, including those listening to us this evening, actually overlook? Over to you, Mr. Otim.
Thank you, Derek. I mean, I've had the benefit, firstly, of working in the private sector, which I did for about 12 years, and adding about another 5 or 6 years within the humanitarian sector. And the first thing to note is that there's a big difference in terms of the missions. The mission in the private sector is geared towards bottom line, profit. You are there are targets, there is money to be made, and there is effect and consequences of not making it. It will relate to your bonus, it will relate to your promotions. At some point, it will relate to the expansion of the organization and a couple of things. When it comes to the humanitarian sector, it's about changing behavior, making the community a better place, making the world a better place. It's qualitatively measured. Now, if you consider those two differences, there's quantity and quality in the private sector, and there's lots of quality in terms of life when it comes to the humanitarian sector, human as it suggests. So let's get down to the subject on performance management. I was fortunate to be actually a performance manager in the private sector for 4 years, performance and reward manager. And one thing I can say from that experience is that performance alone cannot guarantee you a promotion. But what do you need to be thinking if it's about your career? You need to be thinking about how do you align to strategic objectives. That means the first requirement is for you to perform, right? You need to deliver. That's a given. But then you need to align it to the strategic objectives. What do I mean here? Always look at your contribution not as a task, but value in the overall chain, in the overall purpose of what the purpose is for that particular organization. And how can you do this? Ask the right questions. How does what I'm doing build into the bigger picture? Build relationships. I want to say that at some point, you will move away from tasks and you will start to focus on people. Because if you want to grow in the organization, as the question about performance and how promotion comes in from performance, the performance itself is a given. The ability to think strategically is required. And then to move away from looking at just the tasks and start to build relationships will guide you through navigating, strategically to get there. And then lastly, you need to make sure you are visible. So what is visibility? I don't mean this empty visibility where people are making sure they can speak, they can be seen without value. What do I mean by being recognized and being visible? It's not the optics only. It's the optics with the value. It means I show up, I can make a contribution when it's strategic. I can also keep quiet when I have to keep quiet, but I make sure that my contribution in the entire process is valued and it has some visibility to you, because like Evelyn was saying, sometimes you're in the same boat and you might think management is not observing, leadership is not looking. They are looking, and even if it's feedback that comes from down, up, or sideways peers, it still gets to them. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, if I'm to make it practical, is one, get to a place where you are very clear about what you have to deliver. You don't have any second thought on what you're required to deliver. I've had many performance conversations, and when you ask the first thing about, what results do we expect out of this objective? And sometimes people are not clear. You need to be clear about what you need to deliver. That's priority. So I know what I'm looking for. I know that my objective is to deliver so many sales, so many this, so many marketing adverts, so many this. If it's in the private sector, I know I have to influence so many this. I have to get sponsors for this. I have to advocate, etc. So that is something that you need to do practically. Secondly, you need to make sure that you link your strategy. Talk about how this can help this department deliver within the entire organization. Don't only stick to your tasks and working around a very small sphere of whatever you're doing. So expand that. And in terms of building relationships practically, is ask for help, ask for mentorship, ask for support, get people who have walked the journey, tag along with them. One of the things I can tell you on my side is that for every organization I've worked, I've had someone ahead of me who is teaching me, who is holding my hand. And when it comes out in the open, it may appear like, oh, he's confident, he's doing this, he's learning this quickly, but it's because there is that silent person behind who will always be acknowledged, but sometimes people think that career is a solo game. No, no, no. Career is a personal game. You are playing it because it's personal because you have to be in the game, but it's not a solo game. The difference is that a solo game means you run the journey yourself. But solo meaning that, not solo meaning you have to get onto support from those who have walked the journey, and you can do it. So just to summarize, performance itself will not guarantee the promotion, but you need to have those extra pieces of catalysts to help you to move in the right direction, and hopefully with that you're able to position yourself and then of course compete if it's competitive, or actually be promoted without question. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. Be clear on your deliverables. Make sure that your tasks align with strategic objectives. Ask the right questions. Most importantly, build relationships. Wonderful message for our participants on this conversation. Feel free to go on and share, these key points as you pick them up as we proceed in the conversations. But do not forget to keep your questions to the side, because the Q&A is coming up very shortly, and I'm sure that there are questions, personal burning questions that you would love to ask the experts. Before I proceed to my next question, I also want to say thank you so much for joining us in such huge numbers. And I'm certain that we are all getting the value. Thank you so much, the Betty Ojel Foundation, for giving us such free sessions where we come and improve on our value as individuals. Moving on to my next question, that is directed the way of Evelyn. Evelyn, as someone that's mentored young women and championed employee well-being, what is the one career expectation that people walk into the workplace that reality completely dismantles? Over to you, Evelyn.
That question is very intimidating for young people. But I think the beauty about this discussion is we are being as candid as we possibly can. It is unfortunate that a lot of young professionals, Derek, especially young women, like you rightly said stated in your question, walk into the workplace with the expectation of, let me go and do a good job, let me be a nice employee, 8 to 5, no conflict, no disciplinary hearings. I'll keep my head down, look at my JD and, do it at 100 and I'll automatically grow. I apologize to break the ice for you and really tell you that this is not automatically correct. The hard work alone will, not speak for you. The hard truth, ladies and gentlemen on the call, is that the good work that you're going to do is simply the baseline. First things first. That's the baseline. That's your JD. So even when we go into performance discussions, and it's a good thing that Godwin is a performance management specialist, he knows that if you give him his job description at 100, you are a 3. So you are meeting expectations. Is that correct, Godwin? What we are telling young people on the call today, and those who have been in the corporate landscape for quite some time, but they haven't cracked the code, good performance and fulfilling your JD and being a 3-star performer is going to get you in the room. It may actually keep you in the room, but it will be in that room where you entered. It is not going to get you anywhere else. It is not going to move you up the ladder. Growth requires visibility, like Godwin mentioned. It requires relationships. These are relationships of people who matter in the organization, the decision makers, the guys who sit on the decision-making table. The courage to advocate yourself. It is not just enough for you to think that, okay, I did something, I implemented a certain system, I proposed a certain process. They saw it. I don't have to talk about it. You are lying to yourself. You have to learn how to speak up. You have to learn how to ask for feedback. What do you think about my proposal? How did my project go? How did it impact the business? And then you have to take ownership of your development. The other mistake that I have seen young professionals do again, Derek, is because they come into this nice organization, MUA takes care of its people. We are very big on L&D. We really invest in the growth of our people. They fold their hands and say, let me see what HR is planning for me this year. I have people to take care of across the region, you see. So I'm not going to be there think about Robert or Peter or, Joyce. You have to take a proactive step and have that discussion with yourself, with your line manager, all the way up to the HR office. That is when we shall know that you are serious about this, and then we shall also be motivated to invest in you. The other thing, Derek, especially in the African setting, women have been programmed to wait. We are conditioned to wait because someone has to come and ask. You don't just go and start throwing requests. That is why you see, when you see a girl proposing to a guy, you're like, who grew this girl? We have been conditioned to wait to be asked. Unfortunately, this does not work in corporate. When you come this side, your career is not a fairy tale, unfortunately. You're going to get promoted because you have been seen to add value, not because you have been seen to do good. Those are very different things. How do you add value? Understand the business, understand the strategy, have a full comprehension of the strategy of the organization you are working for. That is the best way you'll be able to position yourself as a value addition. Otherwise, you'll continue doing your 8 to 5 and you'll forever be a 3. And people are doing 4s and, getting 5s. And you won't be able to blame anyone. So your excellent work really you should be able to speak about it. You should be able to ask questions, and people should know, Derek, what you are capable of. I think the other thing that really comes to mind, and again, I go back to what Godwin was saying, there is a very clear difference between being visible and being seen. And unfortunately, the discussion, I think a lot of times comes in late. We just think being visible is enough. And we forget that there is a difference. You see, when you are visible, it means your name is, when they think of a certain, who is going to chair this town hall? Who is going to MC this? Who is going to capture minutes? Who is going to, take lead of this upcoming team building? Your name comes up. But when discussions about leadership pipeline are being held, then your name never pops up. I think if you are a professional out there and you know that you're a top performer, but you're finding yourself in a situation that I am describing, please allow me to speak to you directly. It is not that you lack skill, no. It is not that you lack drive or effort. What you lack is visibility that translates into influence. What the shareholder is looking for is profit, is increased market share, is retention rates, statistics that are speaking to the net promoter score in terms of either clientele or employees. How are you feeding into these statistics? So unless you position yourself to be the person who leaders proactively think about when they see a problem, then you still have a way to go. You still have quite a number of lessons to learn. You will, once you see that leadership is trusting you with ownership, then know that you have cracked the code. So a few things that I can propose to you that you can change. Please stop mentioning tasks. Stop saying that I want I'm thinking about implementing an employee wellness program. Tell us that you want to implement an employee wellness program that will cut down absenteeism rates by this percentage, because you know what absenteeism does to the processes. Don't report what you did. Say how it mattered to the business. When I was reporting about my employee engagement scores, I knew that as a brand, we were struggling with positioning. So where you're mentioning a lot of insurance companies, it is so easy for someone to say, who is MUA? What is MUA? Because the brand is relatively new in the market. What that means for me as HR is that I'm going to have problems attracting talent. And this is the talent that I need. So what do? I implement practices that will attract people to me before I say much. I do not have to call myself another insurer for me to attract talent. I just have to position myself as the employer of choice. So instead of, saying I designed an onboarding system, you tell us that, I designed an onboarding system that cut down prolonged induction programs by this percentage, which means the KPIs are going to be met quite earlier. If you coached someone and you help them get promoted, mention it. Stop hiding behind team language. And we appreciate teamwork and we value teamwork, but we need to know your impact as Derek, as Rita, as Ashley. Speak the language that influences, which means using metrics if it is possible. And most importantly, like I said in the beginning, linking your work to priorities. So talk efficiency, talk retention, talk growth, talk alignment. And I think if we drive things in that manner, we shall see a lot of value addition to our names. So these examples are not just for you to phrase whatever you want to say better. These are examples that are going to help you reframe your work as an executive material. Instead of Evelyn, you're going to be seen as a daily value addition to your employers. You created a new onboarding system that, cut ramp up time by 2 weeks. If it helped us hit our Q1 targets. Otherwise, if I hadn't created that, perhaps people would have taken longer to be oriented, and therefore they would have taken longer to meet their targets. Praise yourself and your achievements in such a granular and measurable and quantifiable manner, and then you'll be projecting yourself as someone who is adding value to your employers. I hope I've answered you, Derek.
Yes, yes, Evelyn, you've done more than just answer. I was just, here taking my notes, and wow, what an evening to learn so much. For those of you that are joining Against All Odds for the first time, it's something that we highly recommend. Every time you're coming for an Against All Odds talk session, please have a pen like I have mine here and somewhere to note, because that is what it does. It is always overflowing with people sharing directly from experiences, and that is something you wouldn't want, to just pass you by, most especially when it is a message that you could use to crack the code, just to borrow Evelyn's phrase right there. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I'm going to proceed to Mr. Godwin for my next question. I'm loving the conversation. That's without a doubt. Mr. Godwin, you've worked across both the humanitarian and corporate sectors, just like you mentioned, and clearly stated in your profile. What should professionals understand about the hidden rules or expectations that differ between these two worlds, the world of humanitarian and the one of corporate sectors? Over to you, Mr. Otim.
No, thank you, Derek, for that. Just before I answer that, I want to tie what I'm going to say with what Evelyn mentioned, regarding tasks, and I will also link it to the question you've asked. Today, when you get many CVs and read through the CVs that people submit, what they have most likely done is get the job description or the vacancy announcement, copy all the tasks to this to ensure, adopt, I don't know, develop. All those words come in as tasks. And one of the things I want to emphasize, Evelyn mentioning, is that you need to be able to sell the outcome, because those tasks were written in a job description, which you probably were not yet even in the company by the time it was being developed. So it would be better to see what have you done about those tasks to tie into your projection. How do we see you and how do you show up? Now, why am I saying that? Because when you ask a question about how do you differentiate between the private sector and the humanitarian sector, I want you to think that the best way, first of all, to project yourself in any sector is to document, to learn how to communicate, and to advocate. So documenting means be aware of what you have achieved, be able to write it down, be able to, if you spend 5 or 6 years in an organization and you have not been having the habit of collating or collecting whatever you've been doing over a period, it often gets lost. You at some point you'll be like, by the way, what did I actually achieve? Which projects did I do? And what was the impact of these projects? But if you have the habit of documenting it, learning how to communicate what you have documented and being able to advocate about your work, then you project yourself quite well. Now, let's go back to this question and why this ties in. When you talk about how do you navigate between the private sector and then the humanitarian sector, firstly, we know that the key differentiator, because what is the key differentiator that people may not be aware? It's how we measure. How do we measure success in the private sector, and how do we actually communicate? So you will find that in the private sector, their matrices, it is performance driven, it is bottom line focused, it is about speed, and there is an articulation in terms of accountability of results, which tie into most of what you call your balance sheet, and this becomes the force behind everything and how people are thinking and how everyone is working, between loss profit, and EBITDA and all that. Now, when it comes to the humanitarian sector, I already mentioned, it's more about quality of life. It's more about advocacy. It's about working together. It's about collaboration. It's about a lot of diplomacy and understanding how to work with people, and also keeping, inclusivity on different aspects of the spectrum. So that said, what is important for you to note? It's important for you to note that as you try to transition between any of these sectors, from my own understanding, is you need to be able to adapt. Now, what am I saying? In the private sector, for example, you could be you could look at initiative, you could look at leadership, you could look at being proactive. And I'm not saying this may not apply in the private sector, but the manner in which you are being a leader, in the manner in which you are creating initiatives and letting your ideas out, might be perceived a bit more assertive and overlooking certain ideas of people when it comes to the humanitarian setting. Why? Because the idea is not about self-promotion. The idea is not about how agile you are, and it's not about chasing profit and overlooking people's needs, and which I'm not saying is either or, but I'm just saying the perception. So that's the first thing I want to highlight, the adaptability in how you project yourself. And that's why I said, if you document, learn how to communicate it, and then advocate for what you're saying. For example, you want to say, you know what, I have been able to run a project on youth leadership, you know, and this, if I'm talking about it in the private sector, I'll be looking at, no, we are able to run this project. We will be able to sell so many XYZ and we shall be able to get this kind of profit. Yeah, but in the humanitarian sector, you're saying we have this youth leadership program. We shall be able to influence these leaders to be able to change the community, to provide better services, and and that becomes the communication style. That's one to think about. The other one is expectations. What are the expectations? Understanding the different expectations when it comes to outcomes. How are the outcomes going to be looked at? We have what we call in the humanitarian sector the programming, and then we have the operations. So the programming is specifically targeted towards better human life, humanitarian agendas, based on whatever program that organization is geared towards. In the private sector, you will most likely oscillate between profit and loss, regardless of how you'll explain your product or your service. So expectations need to be clear. And how do you become part of that? By advocating and understanding how am I going to actually deal with these differences as I try to assimilate. The other thing is ways of work. I've hinted on it a bit, but in terms of ways of work, it's about appreciating that there are ways which include, for example, a certain level of flexibility, a certain level of patience, a certain level, because you have donors, you have accountability to donors, maybe people who are feeding into particular projects or programs. Whereas on this side, you know, you have a commercial director who is asking how far, when, and, you know, when are we going to close this gap? So there are differences in that in terms of ways of work. I may not go into all the detail, but it's really to understand how are people interpreting your efforts and how are you understanding the expectations in both sectors. And then I think lastly, it's about I mentioned projecting yourself, but one thing I want to say is that there is one factor that will govern wherever you are, your clarity, your personal vision in terms of where do I want to be? What do I want to contribute? So if you sit and wait for things to happen to you, you know, then chances are high that you will not grow in either sector. So there are a few skills and I would say competences that I have learned and I think would help you regardless of which sector you are in. And so I wanted to share a couple of those for your benefit. One is resilience. Resilience is really the adaptability to stay strong, to stay standing when it's tough, to continually adapt to change, to circumstances that are ever changing or evolving. So how does that look like in either sector? Be able to learn. Let me just give this context very clearly. Maybe it will help us even as we interpret where we sit today. In the 1920s, the work age took on the shape of a 9-to-5 job. That was the advent of the 9-to-5 job. Get up, you know, you go come back at 5, and that's really what work is. Yeah, okay, fine. So we move over from there. We get to the 1940s, and we got into the advent of equal rights. The women, the ladies, they started to work alongside the men. So it started becoming a bit strange in the workplace. Oh, there's a gender balance here. There's a need for gender equality, or emancipation, or some kind of, you know, support. Now, as we moved into the 80s and to the 90s, we went into the technological shift. I'm explaining this for a reason. As we moved into the technological shift, people begin to realize, okay, you know what? We are now moving away from floppy disks. We are getting to CDs. We are getting into, you know, flash disks and all that. And as we evolve into the 2000s, we get into globalization where we start realizing I need to be aware of what's happening everywhere. I'm going to sell myself better if I have a general understanding. As we crossed over into the fourth industrial revolution, which we are in now, with the advent of AI and all the future fit, you know, things that you can think about regarding our work, one of the things you will have to possess is resilience. Why? Because you cannot now start to speak about the 9-to-5 security which you used to have and wanting people to sit there 9-to-5 to deliver that. So that mindset, whether you're a supervisor, a leader, or even a team member, you need to adapt to. Things have changed. I can be flexible, work 3 hours and deliver what someone wants to do in 3 days. It can still be delivered. So when you talk about resilience, that's one of it. Curiosity comes in hand. Curiosity is going to be asking yourself, what can I learn? What do I need to do? And here I give a personal, you know, tip that take time, at least 20 minutes a day, to ask yourself, what have I learned? Before you put your head down and rest for the day, ask yourself, what have I learned? If you do that every day, you'll start deliberately choosing what to learn. And if you can do that consistently, you will always be ahead of the game. I have some personal examples, but I'll keep that because of time. Collaboration. Have a way to collaborate. Every time you're in an organization, private or private sector or humanitarian, think about, how am I collaborating? Am I making the teams better? Do people want to work with me? Are people excited because I'm on that team? Are people happy because I'm part of the team, and like, oh no, we need Godwin on this team because we know he's going to make it better. He's going to add value. He's going to value people, and that kind of thing. Emotional intelligence. It goes without mention that if you have a high IQ without the EQ, then it becomes a bit. And that's why you hear people saying, oh, he has succeeded by stepping on everyone, or he has succeeded by not listening to anyone, that kind of thing. So that balance has to come. Taking the initiative is something that we should also do. Taking the initiative means, you foresee, you anticipate, and you close the gap. And for me, I would say as an individual, that is something which has been my strength and helped me to evolve through different careers, because I will look at gaps and start to suggest ways of going into the spaces that people are talking about challenges. Oh, this thing is not working. Come with a solution. Don't be part of, the pity party. Be part of the solution party. Adaptability goes with resilience. Critical thinking. What is critical thinking? It's going to require you to pause and say, why are we doing this like this today? Why was it designed like this? First, understand that. Then you will be able to understand what you can do differently to add value. And that's where critical thinking comes. Many organizations, many departments, and many sections I've worked with for a while, I have asked one or two questions, but why are you doing this? But can't we change this? And then the realization comes that there's no really clear answer, because it was being done like that by someone who thought about it based on the circumstances at the time. So critical thinking requires an evolving mindset based on ever-changing needs. Communication, making sure your communication is very clear and succinct, to make sure that people can understand and appreciate what you're trying to communicate. And like the saying goes, if you're a great communicator, you have 50% of the work done. The other 50 will come in all other factors. But if you can articulate it well, then you are somewhere in the queue, because you understanding is what is required for any case. Whether it's a doctor, an engineer, you need to make people understand. Integrity is a line we can't cross. With integrity, you will move through every sector or through every career transition, being held in high esteem, because they know they can trust you, and you can also be someone who keeps confidentiality, among other things, together. And lastly, have your personal vision. Be clear when you get into a place. No, I am here for this period. This is how I want to contribute. This is the legacy I want to leave. This is how I'm going to show up. This is how I'm going to influence. And I always tell colleagues, I say, your legacy is how people experience you, period. Not what you think in your head, not what you say that you want to be. No, it's how people experience you. Are you kind? Are you empathetic? Are you helpful? Are you useful? Are you, a guide? Are you a support? Or are you the complainant? Or are you the gossiper? Or are you the, gossip, whatever? All that ties into how people experience you, and it links with your personal vision and how you can transcend a different career position. So I know I've taken a bit of time. I just thought this would be important to share when it comes to navigating the different contexts. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. Truth is, it's very easy to lose track of time, when the things being said are this valuable. So you never worry about it, provided it's about adding value. I know Coach Betty there would never stop you, provided it's about teaching people all of these values, including resilience. You know what I'm saying? Wonderful. Thank you so much right there. Just a communication I want to share. Coach Betty here shared in our group chat a link to YouTube. So she said here that we could be coming to the Zoom meeting capacity. I don't know what the maximum is, Coach, but I see we are very rapidly rising to over 100 participants.
Yes, our maximum is 100.
Okay.
So right now we actually we reached 98. So
Okay. Thank you, Coach, for that message. So please keep that link, share it with others. So that in an event we hit 100, you are not locked out. I've checked out the link. It's working perfectly well. But also someone was asking for the recording. I've come to realize that that's the other beauty with YouTube. Once the live ends, you're able to go back and rewatch. I think, Coach, that will solve quite a number of, those people that have missed the session can always go back, or the page to check out for is Betty Ojel on YouTube. Just type in Betty Ojel on YouTube, and then you will see the page. It will have the live the video basically when the live ends, and then you can go over these lessons. It is true that we might not be able to capture everything at first, hearing it for the first time, but that's the beauty. We are able to get it right there. Allow me, Coach, to get into the last question of Evelyn before we now shift into the Q&A. Evelyn, my last question for you. Having led teams to achieve top employee engagement scores, what's the one thing behind the scenes? No. What's one behind the scenes reality about keeping people motivated at work, especially when conditions ain't ideal? Like those you just described for us when you join some of these companies in transitions and all, and how people react. Clearly, those are never usually the most ideal conditions. And yet, you have been at the top of getting the best in as far as employee engagement is concerned. So what's that one behind the scenes reality about keeping people motivated at work? Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Derek. It is quite interesting that a lot of times we mistake employee engagement to be about flashy practices and spending money and taking out employees for free lunches and coupons and motivational posters. But over the years, and having served in the organizations that I've served in, as I explained in the beginning, one of the most shocking behind the scenes reality that I've come to learn is that we don't need perfect conditions, Derek, to have employee engagement levels shoot as high as we would want. We don't have to wait for the perfect conditions for the people to feel motivated. I have come to confirm that what people are going to respond to is the leadership's ability to resonate with them. And by that, I mean with their pain, so that they feel seen, so that they feel heard, so that they feel valued. It does not matter how fat your budgets look. If you are a leadership team that is going to go doing things in Hawaii and flying business class, and you're leaving these kids here quarter on quarter, it will never work. Because it's the leadership team that is taking care of themselves. They're driving the latest cars, with all the company benefits, flying business class in and out, strategic meetings in 5-star hotels. These kids are here on the ground looking for numbers. They are looking for motivation. They are looking for someone to lead them from the front. So what I've come to learn is that, and I think for me, what has been a very good opportunity is working with MUA, which is not a company with the best budgets out there, has enabled me to now use my head and sort of think outside the box. How do I achieve good employee engagement rates without spending $1 billion? And this is what I've done. We had a especially last year. I'll give you an example. The year when we had the best employee engagement scores is one of the years where I used the least budgets in L&D. And if you look at the group report, Uganda's ratings in L&D were at 100. That one I will swear to you, we scored 100, above group, above the East African region. But it is not because we sent people to Harvard or Stanford. We had to to be realistic with the teams and say, guys, this is how much we have. Let us hear your views. What can we do? So I had to leverage my personal relationships a lot because I'm in the HR fraternity. I had to leverage my personal relationships and bring in topic experts. Sometimes pro bono, sometimes at something small, something affordable. And then internally, because I'm in an organization where I have very, very senior people in the HR, in the insurance industry, you're going to find that when it comes to customer experience, I have someone who can speak at a level of the East African region when it comes to technical issues. So why do I have to go out to the ITC, which is the Insurance Training College, to spend money? And yet I have internal resources that I can actually, whose knowledge and skills I can tap in. So if we could work backwards and ask what will speak to the people and personalize it, okay? It is never good for any HR operation or any leadership team to think reward, for example, reward structures or is a blanket thing. I think we need to get at a time where we have to personalize these things, because where Godwin would want perhaps scholarships for his kids, Evelyn would want flexi hours. Because I have a young family, I want to spend time with my kids. I want to be able to be around for immunization and stuff like that. So we need to segment and categorize the needs of our people in terms of what will speak to them at a particular point in time. Where someone will want an enhanced medical benefit, the other person will simply want, like Godwin said in the beginning, a work from home arrangement. They don't have to come to the office. But a lot of times what we do, and why HR keeps on saying there is no money, we can't motivate people, is because we think motivation is about money, which is not the case. If it were, I wouldn't be having, my net promoter score went up by 26% last year. My engagement is, my retention is I think I was at 93%. But not because I did a lot of magic. I had to sit and listen to the pain points of my people. MUA has a very young workforce, so you're going to find that we have a lot of young families. Something as small as introduction as work from home arrangements for flexible working hours, or mental health discussions to really get to talk about things that disturb them emotionally and psychologically. These are things that they are going to appreciate. And these are things that you're not going to find in bigger organizations, because they are thinking of sending people to Harvard. They come back and they tender their resignations. And then the HR will start pulling out their training bonds and telling people how they are supposed to stay behind for 24 months. But they're going to stay behind, but not engaged, because they have moved on in their heads. So I will tell you that the biggest behind the scene reality is the fact that we do not need beautiful budgets to keep our people motivated. We just need to communicate honestly, even when the answers are not perfect, but we need to communicate to our people and recognize effort, but recognize effort consistently. Resonate with them. If it is looking for numbers, and please go out there, lead from the front. Don't send people to go out there and you're sitting in your AC. If it is benefits, look at the benefits that you have, weigh your budgets and say, okay, what is it that is going to speak to my people? And then run the numbers and look at what is going to give you more mileage above the other. And really, it is that manager who checks in on their people. Hi, Evelyn, how are you doing? It's that leader who says, guys, it is hard. We understand the numbers are not coming. We are fighting with the brand, but I'm with you. I got you. I am listening to you. How can I support you? Where do you need my help? Stuff like that, Derek. Stuff like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. You just shared the blueprint, and I'm certain that any managers listening in, any HR professionals listening in, it's just about to get very different. for them if they followed that advice, surely word for word. Again, thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Godwin. Thank you, everyone. We have hit the maximum capacity that this Zoom meeting can hold. First time I'm seeing this. I don't know, Coach. I could probably be missing some bit of history, but in my history with the against all odds talks, it's the first time I'm seeing 100 participants. What that means, though, is that others cannot join via the link to the Zoom. So please spread the link to the YouTube channel. It's happening live as we are having this same discussion. Someone can equally follow the discussion on YouTube as well. The link is in the chat. Please spread it. Okay, so according to our agenda, we are supposed to be moving on to our Q&A session, which I am very much ready for. And as we do, just allow me, Godwin, Evelyn, and all the others, just allow me to quickly go through some of the comments that kept coming up as our speakers were delivering. Surely, so let's see. Dan was saying that Evelyn, thanks for touching on the importance of soft skills, especially for the young. Angela just said, thanks for the strong and transformative message. Zawadi Bwambale said, so transformative message. Okay, let's see. Well, who else do we have here? Yes, we do have Gracie that was asking if it's possible to have a recording. I think I already responded to that. Matilda just wrote here, document, communicate, and advocate. I think that really spoke to her. Okay, let's see who else do we have here. We do have Alison saying, wow, this is amazing. I'm translating everything that is being said here in real time to my current role and trying to see how I can apply these gems to my work experience. We wish you the best of luck, Alison. And if you have any questions, the experts are here with us. Please don't keep them. We do have James saying we have a big challenge of job or career stagnation, most especially in government jobs. This demotivates people. How best can one navigate this job syndrome? Evelyn, now that I have you on my big screen, you're the one in the big picture. Yes, I'm going to ask you to respond to that question. And then there's a question by Eunice that says, any tips on managing employees that do not deliver, but they can speak up and convince the higher uppers? Let me read this again. Any tips on managing employees that do not deliver, but they can speak up and convince the higher uppers? Mr. Godwin or team, that is going to be for you to respond to. Okay, Leonel here says, well said, word for word. Okay. I'm looking for a question here. So far, no other. Okay, someone says, and I have a direction on how to educate the youth and students that I'll be speaking to in schools. This is Monica Michelle. Good for you, Monica. Please spread the good word. So far, those are our first two questions. Please keep the questions coming in the chat section as I now allow Evelyn to start with respond to her question and then moving on to Mr. Godwin. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you, our audience. It is really humbling, by the way, and motivating to see that our audience is above 100. We are in 100 plus. It is not something to be taken lightly. So thank you for entrusting us with your time. The challenge of jobs, career stagnation, especially in government entities. I think we need to go back, first of all, to the basics, Derek. As an HR operation, I am hoping they do have HR operations. What are there policies that are speaking at all towards talent management? Are there policies that are speaking towards the time to serve in the office? Are there policies that are speaking towards retirement? And why I'm bringing that first is because it's a non-negotiable. It's a bare minimum. You cannot hold this job and you're 65 and you're still fighting for God knows what, and yet we have the young generation coming up. We are seeing the numbers of students coming out of uni every year, Derek. The numbers are through the roof, but it is such a hypocritical move that we just watch them and we don't do anything to create space for them in the place of work. So I would say, let us, number one, go back as a basic to the availability and enforcement practicability of these policies within the workplace, to know that if someone has hit a certain age and if it's retirement, it's time to go, let us create the path for the next generation. Second, what practices do we have in place when it comes to succession planning and talent development? Because sometimes you're going to find that the young generation is there, perhaps they are just there, but are they ready to take on these responsibilities? Have they been nurtured? Have they been coached? Have they been trained and mentored to take on these roles? No. So what that does is it gives us a weak leadership pipeline or a weak leadership bench that we have to only rely on these people because they're the ones that we have anyway. But we have not paid any attention to the mentorship and the development of young talent. As someone who is absolutely passionate about L&D, I know that while I may have the best technical person in terms of insurance, I also need two people below him, because in case of an exit, I need not to panic. It also falls, in line with HR planning and workforce planning, the things that we do as a business, as an entity, to ready the next generation to take on these responsibilities. Are there mentorship programs that are being provided by the senior citizens that are holding these positions? And then we provide, but also I think letting them come in, if it is internship programs, if it is apprenticeship programs, let us do that so that they are given first-hand information out of class, right? To see how things are done, to understand how the businesses are run, so that at the end of the day, we can easily phase off the first generation of the leaders and bring in the next. Otherwise, if we don't do it as strategically and as intentionally, as I've explained it, we won't have anywhere to run, because at the end of the day, we shall be, it will be one man dependency syndrome. These are the guys that have been there, done it for 100 generations. We don't have anyone else. But why don't we have anyone else when universities are churning out hundreds and thousands of people every year? So I think it begins with us to implement everything that I've talked about, and then things will fall into place.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I hope that my brother's question here has been responded to. What I'm realizing though, Evelyn, is that the questions are flying in. Mr. Otim, let me allow you to respond as I look out for what question we are going to be, which ones we shall be responding to within the confines of the time we have left available. Over to you, Mr. Otim.
Thank you, Derek. So I think I'll be precise, but try to also cover everything that I need to say. So in a case where there's someone who's visible and good at managing upper, which is really managing upwards, but maybe not competent. So I want to, first of all, demystify the case, because one, there are people who they are fair performers, but they are also articulate and they are good with selling the story and managing upwards. And so that is a case of what we've said, not just being visible, but also being seen. And one thing I always say, whenever something negative is said in my world, I say, what can you learn from that thing which you shouldn't do, but what can you learn that you should do better? So in that case, where you see someone is able to manage upwards and pick up visibility, maybe they are good at articulating certain things which you could learn from, because you need to have that visibility. Quiet performance oftentimes will get you up to the door, but to open that door, you need to knock. And sometimes you knock the door. So that's what it takes. Now, let's get away from that scenario and go to the second scenario, where you have a highly, talkative, expressive person who is managing upwards, but is a non-performer. Now that is where we get into how do we deal with that. So it depends. Is this someone you're supervising? Is it a peer? Is it someone who, and what is the motive? What is the damage at the end of the day? I would say one, you need to keep clear and evidence-based records of performance. You know, what is it that this person is responsible for? Keep a clear record, keep accountability between what was required and what has actually been delivered. And this comes down to the systems. You can take advantage of the systems you have. If it's a performance system, if you have a tracking system, you need to manage things based on evidence. I mean, if people can articulate, people can speak a lot of things, and often I would use the term that it comes out as English, but when you come out to the outcome, you're not seeing the outcome. So this is what I will say, that competence will override cosmetics. Number two, you should don't compete with charisma. It is countered by clarity. So whenever people are, this is what you will learn. It's short-term success to appear as if you are delivering, and yet you are not delivering. So whichever side you of the continuum you are, if you are the manager or if you are the peer, if you are the manager, then you have more control, because then you can say, I need to be very clear on how smart I set my goals. You're also able to account for what has been delivered and what was planned to be delivered, and you can show the difference. But one thing is that charisma will not overweigh clarity. However well it is said, if it does not meet the benchmark which was set, then it remains a contextual English sentence, but without the outcome. And then competence will also always override cosmetics. So you have to make sure that it's not just being, covered up in the language. And whilst you can be in the private sector where it's numbers based, but even in the humanitarian sector, there are clear deliverables that you should show to show how you are measuring success. So that's what I would say. Practically speaking, learn both ways. Are you learning something about how someone can be visible and sell themselves, but selling themselves authentically and not overriding other people's benefit or other people's work? I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. Again, now that I have you on my big screen here, it is you that I see. I'll direct this question to you before we go to the next one. So this is Lionel. Is asking, how would you advise those in self-doubt as it is looked at as at the starting point? They can perform, but they have many doubts. That is Lionel. They are struggling with that.
Thank you, Lionel. I love that. I love that question. I have been there before several times. I have moved several times through jobs, and I will tell you that you can never wait for it to be perfect. And one of the greatest achievements I have made in my career journey, and just so you know that I have moved a career journey which is maybe 1 out of 1,000 in terms of possibility when it comes to, if you go deep to my profile. And the reason is because I've made some of the most mistakes. You get it? What I would say, not costly mistakes, but learnable mistakes which I can learn from in my career journey. So what that self-doubt is okay. It's a sense that you want to be correct, you want to be right. But to grow, you have to get uncomfortable. The fact that you have that doubt, it creates discomfort. It puts you in a place where you ask yourself, what will I learn from this? And so in a case where you doubt yourself, uh, there is experience that we can learn from. And gone are the days where you say, you know what, you first have to fail to learn. No, you don't have to fail to learn. Sometimes you can ask for wisdom. You can ask for knowledge from people who have done it before. Cover the doubt. What is the doubt? Check in. Is it a system I cannot use? Is it a way of work I need to learn? Is it a project I need to be guided on? Just lend yourself to learn, and you will start to counter that self-doubt. Competence builds confidence. The more you become competent at, and what is the way to build competence? It is practice, and practice comes with making mistakes. So you're going to make mistakes, but say learn from your mistakes. And I remember doing a consultancy session where the theme was learning from our mistakes. And one of the things I liked about it was that the organization had come to a place where innovation had gone down, and yet that is how they thrive. That is what they are supposed to do. So they said, we are going to allow everyone in this particular season, you know, to teach us this. We are going to learn from our mistakes. Let us try this out. Let's make these mistakes. And you can do the same in your own life. Now, I say this because even when you're coached, even when you're supported, even when you're guided, there are mistakes you have to make yourself because they help you understand the thing better and they help you refine yourself in how you come out. Now, I don't have time to share a full example, but what I will tell you is that the moment you're willing to learn and you are willing to take the risk to be in the driver's seat, and I know most of us here have driven a car, have learned how to drive a car. There is no one, and you correct me if I'm wrong, who has driven a car when he's in the co-driver's seat learning. You come in and make some mistakes. You may bump into a hump or whatever, but you have to be driving. And that is where you begin to master how to control the car and how to move better. So I would say make mistakes. The self-doubt will come. You will be overcome by how much guidance you get where you need to, but how many calculated mistakes I say you make sure they're not costly, but make sure that they are reasonable because there is always space for you to make some mistakes in any situation, which is really a part of learning. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otim. I guess Lionel right there just got exactly what he was looking for in his question. Again, time is not very much on us, but I would not want to leave any questions unanswered. I would love to ask Evelyn to respond to this one. Someone is asking, they want to learn from you how to navigate office politics with toxic bosses from top executive. This is Kariuki joining us from Tanzania. That's their question, Evelyn. Please respond. Thank you. Evelyn, you're muted.
Great. I have muted. Derek, office politics, unfortunately, is everywhere. So let's start with the basics. No one is going to give you a whole A to Z training on office politics, especially if the situation involves toxicity from someone at the top or someone that you report to or someone with a position of influence within the office. But I have come to learn that Evelyn, I can protect my integrity without losing, my impact as the head of HR within the organization. First things first, let us learn to read the room. And it goes back to the emotional intelligence that Mr. Otim was talking about. Learn to read the room because power dynamics are real. You need emotional intelligence to sort of guide you on when to speak, when to respond to a situation, when to just sit back and observe, when to document it. Some things you may document and just make things worse. Other things you may not document.
Derek, you're muted.
Yeah, I think we are losing Evelyn. Can you hear her?
I think she's gone off.
Okay.
But let's give it a moment.
Okay, let's just see. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I guess as we wait for her to return, we could use the minute to respond to one other question. Someone wrote something very, very long here. Oh, Evelyn, you're back. Please unmute and confirm that you're back.
I didn't realize you had lost me. Where did you lose me so that I can pick from there?
You had actually almost just started to speak to us about telling us that it's not something we can escape. Office politics is always everywhere.
Wow. I had actually gone to the third point. So I was saying, Derek, you're not going to get an A to Z training on office politics, because we need to face it. The power dynamics are in the office. But let us first things first focus on a situation where the politics involves someone that you report to, or someone in a position of power, or someone in a leadership position, and it is really toxic behavior that they're projecting towards you. What I have come to learn is that I have the ability to protect my integrity without really losing my impact to what I bring to the organization by virtue of my position. First things first, let us learn how to build meaningful alliances. And when I say meaningful alliances, I mentioned earlier that powerful dynamics are real. So do not isolate yourself. There is always a room for you to find grounded people. There is always room for you to find mentors and sponsors, regardless of this person who has become a problem for you at the place of work. Now, let us talk about sponsors. Sponsors are people who are going to mention your name, Derek, in a room where you're not. Sometimes you may not even have access to that room. I'm talking about people who sit on decision-making boards, people who sit on committees that decide on who is going to take on the next project. These are projects that come with a lot of benefits, a lot of allowances, a lot of growth opportunities. And someone is just going to say, I think we can entrust Derek with that responsibility. It might actually not be your direct line manager. It might not be your CEO. It might not be your GM, but someone who has seen your good work and come to appreciate it. And so they're fronting your name. Secondly, we need the emotional intelligence to read the room and break down situations. We need to know a situation has risen up in the office. When do I speak? Do I even need to speak about this? Do I need to sit back and observe and watch how it unfolds? Do I need to document it? Sometimes you're going to document something that is going to become a problem. Sometimes you're going to not document something that is going to put your entire job at risk. So you need to find the perfect balance on what is happening and how do you respond. That is the emotional intelligence that even Godwin spoke about. Third, as long as you do your work with excellence, this one I have seen. As long as there is a touch of excellence on your work, no kind of politics is going to stand in your way. They may control the narrative for a certain period of time, but because your results are speaking for themselves, they are your defense, ladies and gentlemen. When people know that you deliver, it becomes hard to discredit you and your value, even when the environment is very, very political. Your results have spoken, they feed into the numbers, they feed into your P&L. There is no way someone is going to discredit you. Having said all that, let me wrap up by saying, if you ever find yourself in a situation of politics in the office affecting your mental well-being, hurting your health, hurting your self-worth, please make a decision to walk away. Do not stay in an environment where your light is dimmed 8 to 5, January to December, all in the name of loyalty. When a door opens, there is a bigger window that is going to open. Where you're not valued today, you're going to be valued even much more in another organization. So let us compartmentalize, let me use that word, to know that, okay, this is now too much. It is eating into my mental wellness. I have a staff member one time, I didn't even know she was going through this until we were processing her employee exit interview. And the lady had started getting nightmares. She's waking up at night screaming, numbers, numbers, numbers. Her husband had to intervene. For her to actually tender her resignation, her husband intervened and said the girl is losing her mind. She wakes up at night screaming the manager's name, screaming numbers. She was in the sales department. It had just gone out of hand. Because every time she would walk into the office, the manager would ask for her numbers. Who did you meet yesterday? Who did you close? Did you renew that account? How are you managing the claims? And it got to her, she couldn't contain it. So please, if you ever find yourself in that situation, make the best choice, and it is to walk away. Nothing is more important than your life. There will always be that opportunity that will speak to your values and to your competencies, and you will have a safer landing. Let's not die because of jobs. Let us not do that. Yes, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Evelyn. There's no better way of wrapping it up. Let us not die because of jobs. When it gets unsafe, then that is surely the warning sign for you to find the exit and go somewhere safer, like MAU and other organizations. Time. I'm going to need the host, Coach Betty, to come in at this point, and only with her permission will I proceed to ask the other questions, because we surely have some more. And I would love that each of our listeners that have been a part of these conversations actually get to have their responses. Coach Betty, kindly come through and guide on if we are going to use more time, and if yes, how much longer, so that we can see how to manage it quickly and at least get to hint on each and every one of these questions as asked. Over to you, Coach.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. My notebook is literally full of notes. Learning never stops. Now, friends, we have gone for 2 hours and 2 minutes. 2 hours and 2 minutes. And I would like to say that officially, against all odds, 22nd session is closed for those who budgeted for 2 hours. For those who are okay to continue another 30 minutes or 20 minutes, you are welcome to stay. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our speakers, our panel members. I do not add any point to what you have shared. But yes, time is always not our ally, and but like I have said, if the speakers are willing to put another 20 minutes or 10, depending, but we will close for sure.
Yeah. Betty, can I just suggest this? There are some people who have questions which have not been answered, and I can see we still have a good number online. If with the help of Derek, we can navigate through those questions. I know there are different commitments. I would be glad to quickly respond to those that we can, and hopefully we'll cover all of them, and then people can go so that they don't leave with some unanswered questions. And hopefully we do that in under 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay,
if possible.
okay.
Yeah.
That is okay with me. That is okay.
Yeah. Someone has
Great.
said they are not leaving.
Okay, that is great. Thank you. Thank you so much,
It
Coach,
is
for
a
guiding.
hot topic. It is a hot topic.
Yes.
We might have to retake this topic and with the same speakers.
Hopefully. Okay. Thank you, Coach, for guiding. Thank you, our speakers, for agreeing. So again, I will not waste any time. Marie here says, unfortunately, my experience with HR is their unwavering support for the entity. The truth is most people don't trust them, which seems to distance itself when employees really need them. It's so sad to see employees developing an attitude of go do your work, go home after. If the office building caught fire, not many would volunteer to put it out. How can employees build a better relationship with HR department? Definitely, this is a question that has Evelyn written all over it. Evelyn, I'm going to ask you to come in very, very quickly, respond to this before we go to our next. Over to you, Evelyn. Evelyn, do we have you? Well, I guess that's why we have Godwin with us.
Yes,
Please
sure.
take over from there as she gets back. Thank you.
Who asked the question? The name?
Marie. Marie is the one that
Marie.
asked the question.
Marie, thank
Yes.
you for that question. I will say this, that let's distill down to what is your takeout from this. And for me, it is that there are things that you have influence over, and there are things that you have minimal influence over, and there are things you actually don't have any influence over. This is one of those that you have some influence over, in the sense that you can control your own narrative. You go to work, you show up. What do you show up for? You have a role, and you have a way to navigate that role. Now, that's one angle to it. Then there are also systems. There is probably someone within the organization who can support to help. So when you have to escalate some HR issues, and I'm saying this because I don't have the full context, but what my quick tip is what is in your full control is to say, you know what, I'm going to do my best in my role. I am going to see if there is a way to report or to kind of share this information to any person responsible, to advise on how we can meet up, maybe have an engagement with HR to see what can be done. Or you could take the initiative yourself and say, is there somebody in HR I could go and talk to and actually share with them my concerns? I know it always comes from a place of you don't know the situation. You know, for me, I've tried, I've told these people or not. But the thing I always say is, until you are satisfied that you have taken the right steps yourself, that's how you make a change. Otherwise, change will always be like, yeah, you know, those guys are like that. If the building catches fire, I don't think people just come in and work. But yes, I hear that. It's loud and clear. But me as Marie, not to put you on the spot, or me as Godwin, what is it that I have done to find a way to lay this out so that someone can understand this is not the best way to work, and this is difficult for us to continue like this. Maybe there is an avenue for you to work with a particular manager who can be able to talk with the HR manager, or someone who can help to be a mediator or the bridge, and it doesn't have to be confrontational. It can be an avenue for understanding. So I would say that, but my last tip would be, work your way to your vision, delivering what you have to deliver. And whenever you find that you are hitting a point where it's not working for you, like Evelyn said, toxicity will affect your health, will affect your emotional health, etc. You just take you look for your way out by delivering what you have to and looking for another opportunity, which helps. But you will have played your part of voicing to whoever is responsible to see how can we mitigate, or how can we mediate over this situation. That's what I would say briefly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Godwin. And now that I still have you here on my screen, as that has been my tactic for the evening, I'll quickly bring on Mr. Wambale's question. It says, as a fresh graduate in HR, how can one navigate the growing competition in the job market and break into the field when most job postings demand prior experience? What practical steps can bridge this gap? That is how the question was structured. Over to you, Godwin.
Boambale, this is a very good question. I was once a young man from the university. I used to ask myself, when will I have 10 years experience? And then these jobs which are asking for 5, do I first disappear and get the 5 and then appear? Okay, so these are the practical steps. Number 1, do as much research as possible on any organization you are planning to work for. Do as much research as possible. Understand organizations and what their objectives are and what. Why do you do that? Because you begin to add value on how you can enter into the organization. Now, that's the first step. The other practical step you need to do is find a way of understanding if there are opportunities where you are not going to, yes, be absorbed permanently, but maybe you can volunteer. I mean, internship sometimes is also, structured with a school, but if not, find a way you can volunteer. Offer yourself, be able to do something that is not ordinary, because you're talking about how do you get ahead of the queue. Now, why am I saying this? Because you cannot get experience when you don't have it. It's not going to come from the microwave. It has to be developed in a certain way. So by volunteering, you increase your kind of exposure to a certain opportunity. You do more research, you learn. You can also increase your knowledge by going into further studying if you have to. Now, why am I saying all this? There is no shortcut to getting ahead of the queue than increasing your own value and increasing your capacity to deliver on what is being asked at hand. So how do you get ahead of the queue? You start by taking those steps deliberately. I myself, when I was looking for a job, I started by actually opening up a shop in Wandegea. Yeah, I started by opening up a shop in Wandegea where I said I will be applying for jobs when I'm selling my DVDs and my movies here, which is what I did. But what I'm trying to say is, because you find yourself moving and trying out things and saying, I can help with this. And once in a while, someone would come and say, oh, you know what, we are doing research. Can you come and do for us some questionnaires? I say, yes, I will be available. I start learning. When I go for the next interview, I'm being told, what experience do you have? I said I was able to fill out questionnaires as part of my research experience. And that's the experience I can use when it comes to evaluating XYZ. You see, so use the little you have without underestimating its value. The most important thing is the lessons you learn from the small stints that you can access. And lastly, look out for the jobs. And when you go for the job, show what you've learned, researched, and what you can do. I want to give a quick summary there. I purpose to become a learning and development specialist in 2012. And I told myself I want to do this in 3 years. In 2015, I told myself 4 years. But by 2015, I was able to contest for 3 learning and development jobs without learning and development experience. Why? Because I watched about 280 TED Talks. I started training people. I started reading books. I started watching every material on learning, and I started creating learning material. I'm just trying to show you that sometimes you take the initiative. And in 3 years, I was able to be considered for learning and development opportunities, yet I did not have the same 16 years of experience that people had in the industry. So learn as much as you can, research, volunteer, and look out for opportunities.
Wow, Godwin. You see, when you started and said this is a step by step, I was waiting for the steps, and that's exactly what you've given, a step for step on how to actually break through without any of this experience. And I think it is very, very practical. I think it clearly feeds into aspects of a personal development. And such sessions is one of such ways which takes me back to appreciating Against All Odds and the Betty Ojel Foundation for these sorts of opportunities. Before I get into what would be the last question for the evening, there is a message that I would like to share with us very briefly, which is a bit of information about the Betty Ojel Foundation. The Betty Ojel Foundation, like I've just mentioned, is responsible for bringing us Against All Odds talks. This particular session being the 52nd session. The mission is very simple. It is to inspire hope with another very simple vision, which is transformed lives. So the Betty Ojel Foundation has gotten very clear program areas. Number one being education, the other being mentorship. I'm lucky to be under the mentorship of Coach Betty, under the Betty Ojel Foundation. The other being Blessed Hands Outreaches. These are outreaches that the Betty Ojel Foundation participates in every year to give assistance to the underprivileged in all sorts of ways through hard money and other day-to-day basic necessities. And the last area being Against All Odds talks, one that we are benefiting from right at this minute. But speaking more a bit about the education program area and the Betty Ojel Foundation, it specifically targets girls' education. And for those of you that know Coach Betty's story, that is where she picked the inspiration to add education as a very key and core aspect of the Betty Ojel Foundation. So you might you're free to go and look at the Betty Ojel Foundation website. Just put in Betty Ojel Foundation on Google, and you should be able to look at the website. Under that, you'll be able to see people or children that have benefited from the Betty Ojel education. So moving on from that, to sponsor someone, to sponsor a girl's education under the Betty Ojel Foundation, you can use mobile money. I'll just read the numbers very quickly.
Recording in progress.
6024074. And for those of you that would like to do it in the US dollar currency, is 600-602-4. No, let me repeat that. 600-602-4066. I repeat, 600-602-4066. Let me say this also very importantly, there is no amount too small to help the underprivileged. So again, if you have an amount that you probably cannot,